Who started that one?
You started that one.
All right, welcome everybody. Welcome to Thursday, October 13th, 2022's REACT Race Equity Advisory Committee meeting for the city of Bremerton. Welcome everyone. We're gonna go off the agenda tonight, and let me pull that up to make sure I'm going correctly right now. It's moved to a different screen for me. But I do want to start with, I believe, the land acknowledgement. So it looks like I'm up to read the land acknowledgement tonight. So let me make sure I have that. So every part of this soil is sacred in the estimation of my people. Every hillside, every valley, every plain and grove has been hallowed by some sad or happy event in days long vanished. Chief Seattle, 1854. We would like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is within the ancestral territory of the Suquamish, the people of clear salt water. Expert fishermen, canoe builders, and basket weavers, the Suquamish live in harmony with the lands and waterways along Washington's central Salish Sea, as they have for thousands of years. Here, the Suquamish live and protect the land and waters of their ancestors for future generations, as promised by the Point Elliott Treaty of 1855. Excellent. All right. Would somebody like to read the purpose and vision of REACT?
Hello, Laomi.
Hey, Laomi, welcome.
I'll read the purpose and vision.
Great.
Okay. Our purpose: to advise the city council by applying a race equity analysis to all aspects of governance, and to maintain engagement with and accountability to other work being done throughout the Bremerton community in service of race equity. Our vision: Bremerton Race Equity Advisory Committee envisions a city that strives to continually dismantle its own institutional racism within policies, programs, budgets, initiatives, legislation, systems, and infrastructure, amplifies and joins racially, culturally, and socially integrated community endeavors toward equity, well-being, and liberation for all, and aspires to model for the nation a city in which people of different races, ethnicities, and backgrounds can interact, form friendships, and participate fully in the community's political, economic, educational, cultural, and civic endeavors.
Excellent, thank you. And it looks like we do have attendees tonight, and I know that Laomi, this is, I believe, your second REACT meeting, so why don't we go around and just quickly introduce ourselves for the folks. And I guess I will start with who I see on my screen first, Glenna.
Hi, everybody. I'm Glenna. My pronouns are she, her. Resident of Bremerton for 3 years, and in my day job, I am a teen services librarian with the Kitsap Regional Library at the Port Orchard branch. And apologies if you see my little cat popping up on screen every once in a while. She really likes attention.
Great, thank you. Laomi, you're next on my screen.
Thank you so much, Laomi. She, they. I am a peer support specialist at Kitsap Mental Health. I've been a resident of Bremerton for 8 years.
Excellent, great. Thank you and welcome. Aaron, you're next on my screen.
Hey everybody, Aaron Leidick, he, him, or no pronouns, fine too. And obviously also a resident of Bremerton, Union Hill neighborhood since 2012.
Awesome. Great. Daryl, you're next on my list.
Daryl Riley, businessman and entrepreneur, resident of Bremerton since 1998.
Excellent. Thank you. Sarah?
Sarah Van Gelder. I've been a resident of Kitsap County since 1992, resident of Bremerton for 3 years. And my day job is as Director of Communications for the Suquamish Tribe. And Aaron, I'm having a hard time hearing you clearly when you were speaking just now. Before I lose my spot on the agenda, my pronouns are she, her.
Great. And next I have Jennifer.
Hi, Jennifer Chamberlain, City Council Member District 1. since we're throwing it out there, resident of Bremerton since 1997, City of Bremerton resident since 1999.
And Anna.
Hi, Anna Mockler, City Council for District 6. I've been in this house since August 11th, 2017.
Excellent, great. And hi, everyone. Quinn Dennehy, he, him. I'm the City Council representative for District 4, also Union Hill neighborhood, like Aaron. In my day job, I now work for the City of Seattle, doing employment investigations for discrimination, harassment, and retaliation. So let's move on to the next part of the agenda, which is tonight's agenda. Does anybody have any amendments to tonight's agenda as they look over it, or can I have a motion to accept it? Go ahead, Aaron.
I just have a new business thing if you want them added at this point.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I got an email from the Bainbridge Island REAC proposing a new date for a joint meetup chat with them, so I can talk about that.
Awesome, thank you so much. With the amendment, anybody else want?
Move to
another-
approve the agenda as amended to include the new business of communicating an email about an email for a new possible date with Bainbridge Island REAC.
Second.
Great. Everybody in favor? Aye. Great, opposed? Okay, new agenda as amended is accepted. Great. Moving along, looking at the September 8th, 2022 REAC meeting minutes, any amendments that folks needed to put into those amendments, or I'll just wait for a motion to accept them if not.
Move to approve the minutes of the September 8th, 2022 REAC committee meeting.
Second.
I have a question. Where's our chair?
Go ahead.
Oh, I guess I'm, okay. I guess I'm the chair. Yes, Sarah.
We got a series of follow-up questions by Aaron Leidick. Can we include those for the record?
Okay, that was by an email?
I
I
can
saw
speak
that.
to, yeah, I can speak to that. I both put them in the chat during the meeting and also sent them to via email afterward. And that was why I was raising my hand. I was going to say the same thing as Sarah.
Okay, was it sent directly to City Council?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And so I believe that Brett answered those questions. Am I wrong, Quinn? What we're talking about now? Hello, welcome back. Uh-oh, you're muted. Rookie mistake.
Sorry, I fell off. Yeah, go ahead.
I believe that there was answer with Sarah wanted to include questions, follow-up questions that Aaron presented, which I believe Brett answered those. Am I wrong?
Sorry, let me clarify. Sarah's speaking of a different thing right now, Jennifer. So Sarah had submitted some questions. Brett
Okay.
answered those questions. And Sarah, correct me if I'm wrong, but what you were referring to that you want in the September 8th minutes is that during the September 8th meeting, I offered some suggestions for what our committee might say to City Council about the structure going forward of this committee. I submitted those in the chat during the September 8th meeting. I also sent them in an email after the meeting to the City Council email address and to my fellow community members' addresses who serve on this committee. And I think that's what Sarah was referring to. And that's what I was going to mention as well as wanting to be included in the September 8th minutes.
Okay, I'm going to defer to Christine, who's our City Council representative for that. Let me see if I can move her. I'm going to, Christine, I'm going to promote you to a panelist. Did she make it more? Oh, I think she's coming in. There she comes. Christine, I'm sorry to call you on the spot. I know you're busy taking minutes. And so I don't want to bother you normally, but do you have a copy of those questions? We can get those from Lori and include those in with our minutes. Uh-oh, on mute. I know you're
I'm
normally
actually
behind this
searching email to pull that up right now so I can
And you
fold those
know,
in.
And so don't worry about it right here in this moment, but we'll make sure to get that done. And
I recall the email, so I can make that happen so that the
Thank
minutes can be amended.
okay,
Sorry
I'm
for
gonna,
leaving those off.
no,
If I may, Jennifer.
Move to
if I may-
approve the minutes with this
I'm
amendment.
sorry, Anna, Aaron was speaking.
I just was going to give the subject line of the email, which is Aaron's notes for Quinn, Jennifer, Anna, as they work on the draft ordinance. That was the email, Christine, if that's helpful.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna let you just kind of stay as a panelist because I don't know how to move you away. And then Quinn, you're back. So let's turn it over to you. We just have amended minutes. And Anna, I'm gonna turn it back over to Quinn, but Anna was proposing to approve with amended.
Awesome, thanks. I'm closer to my modem now, and I closed a few other windows, so hopefully nothing else takes place. But yeah, Aaron, we were looking at your proposals while we were working on the ordinance, and I definitely remember both of those emails, both from Sarah and Brett's responses, and your suggestions. So I know we can find those and put those in there. Perfect. Anna, you said you're gonna move to accept the minutes.
Move to accept the minutes of the September 8th, 2022 meeting as amended to include information posted in the chat and subsequently emailed by Aaron Lydek to City Council and community and other members of this committee.
Great.
Second.
Excellent. Everybody in favor? Opposed? Excellent. Minutes as amended are accepted. And thank you, Christine, for making sure those get into the minutes. Appreciate it. All right, moving on to the next agenda item. The next one is a follow-up on the React structure and OPMA questions. So what I'm going to do is just to let folks know what Jennifer, Anna, and I did after our last meeting is we met, I believe that Tuesday afterwards, and we met with Assistant City Attorney Brett Jetty, and we took Aaron's suggestions. We opened up, I believe we had Sarah's questions around OPMA also open on the computer, and kind of just asked him to take a stab at drafting what an ordinance could look like for us. What we did want to do is make sure that we had all the OPMA questions answered and bring it back to you with those answers. And then we'll send you all the ordinance after tonight's meeting. But the important part that I wanted to get people on the same page about was Brett's answers to a lot of our questions. A lot of our questions kind of focused on, is there any way to kind of do this work in between meetings without, having to violate those OPMA quorum rules? And so I have Brett's answers. I'm going to pull them up right here.
Point of order, Quinn.
Yes, go ahead.
I believe you've emailed those answers to us several times, and I'm concerned about the amount of time we have on the agenda for restructuring, and wondering if everybody else feels like the responses that we already received in an email is sufficient to move ahead with the discussion.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I think these were questions that came out on the 11th, which was 2 days ago, but
Oh, they're different set. I'm sorry.
oh yeah, no, it's totally fine. Let me know if I do pull them up and if these are redundant, because I think last time the crux that we were receiving from Brett last time, if I recall, we were all wondering if we don't take public comment, does that exempt us from the OPMA? And that's kind of the stuff that he did a little bit more extra research on around. So let me pull up those, and it's just, I think, about 5 questions that were asked. So what is the impact of removing public comment from the meeting's agenda? The response was, it's negligible for the purposes that REAC wants to remove the public comment. Section 14 of the city charter requires that the meetings be open to the public regardless of whether there's no public comment or not. So basically, if we remove public comment, we still have to abide by the charter, which also requires open public meetings. Number 2, what is considered a quorum per charter or suggested ordinance? The answer is Washington State Supreme Court has defined a majority of the members of a committee as constituting a meeting under the OPMA. So given section 14 of the city charter, this should be the standard use by the city as well. So basically whatever our membership is, 50% plus one is going to be a quorum. So that would require notice and would require an open meeting, even if we aren't taking public comment. One of the questions was, can REAC invite guest speakers? Yes, is the answer. And they believe that REAC has already invited guest speakers, and that's not a problem. Number 4, is this or is this not considered public comment? Again, that question is moot because removing public comment wouldn't change anything. So that's the main answer that I wanted to share with everybody. I apologize if that's redundant, but I do think we were kind of trying to think of some way to circumvent it. Go ahead, Sarah.
I'd like to just put the discussion in some context and give my own perspective if this is an appropriate time to do that.
Yeah, go ahead.
So for me, the main context of this is that I feel like for the last year, we have not been able to get anything done to speak of. And when I was asked if I would extend my term, I'm clear that I'm not going to extend my term if we can't get anything done. My time is in order to move the needle on racial justice, not to be part of a process that simply is about an institution that has no real effect. So for me, this is a really pivotal moment in terms of my participation, is can we come up with a way that we can get things done? Earlier on, I felt that like this committee was getting some stuff done. In the last year, I feel like we're not. And I'd like to, if you don't mind, I'd like to say some of the things that I think it would take for me to believe that we're able to get things done. First of all, I believe we were successful when we had working groups that could actually meet and make decisions. I don't have any problem with those being publicly noticed and being open meetings. I have nothing to hide. I just want us to be able to have effective working groups. That could include having non-member participants. I'd like to explore that because I think there are a number of people who've expressed an interest in being part of making things happen, who are not able to be members of this team because of the particulars of where they happen to live a few feet outside the boundaries or whatever it may be. I'd like to see if we might be able to include them in working teams so they can still participate even if they can't be official members. So first question is around working groups. The second is our email capacity. We need to be able to communicate with each other via email in between meetings, because 1 hour of work every month, which is essentially what we're now able to do when we take care of all the bureaucratic stuff, is not enough to get anything done. I'd like for us to be able to email each other. If that means putting every single email on a website so they're completely open, I have no problem with that. I don't have anything to hide. I just want us to be able to email each other and talk to each other. The third thing is staffing. I think we've been asked as volunteers. I saw a long list of things that we might do and we've discussed doing in the way of policy analysis for what the city could do to bring a racial equity lens into all areas of budgeting and policy. This is incredibly important work and it's well beyond the capacity of a small group of volunteers. So we clearly need staffing support, whether that's a DEI full-time staff person, whether that's allocation of staff from the city government right now. I don't know what it is exactly, but I think our role will be effective when we can work with dedicated staff people. And this is all respect to our current help from the city council staffer who's been doing a wonderful job of keeping us on email. It's not disrespecting that at all. It's just that we need somebody who can be working at a policy level with us, who can give us opportunities to give them guidance, but then can actually implement getting work done. We need to have a way of bringing new members in, and I believe you've addressed that, and we can discuss whether that way of bringing new members in feels appropriate. And I think those are my main things that I'll be looking for to see whether I'm able to feel like I can continue to participate in a group that is actually about getting stuff done.
Awesome, perfect. Jennifer, you had your hand raised?
Yeah, absolutely agree, Sarah. So I'm 100% on board with everything you stated. And so, the DEI is coming, and we have, we do have that coming. I say we, but I mean the mayor. The mayor is going to have that proposal coming with the budget cycle, and our budget comes out next week. That means, well, the proposed budget. So we, as city council members, are gonna have some work to do to advocate for getting, certain budgetary items allocated, right? No committee has their own dedicated budget, but we have a city council budget, which is how we're gonna advocate for the GARE membership, the email addresses, et cetera. And conference. We, as city council members, struggle to get work done between meetings as well. We cannot, and we can't do a rolling quorum. We can't meet to discuss issues outside of 3 people. So that's why our committees have 3 city council members on them, so that we can do the working groups. And so I am curious, can somebody tell me the history of why the working groups stopped? Were y'all told to stop the working groups? Because those were working, right? Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not the chair, but go ahead.
Yeah, I think Daryl had his hand up, and then
Okay.
maybe can get back to that question, Jennifer. I just want to get
Let's answer that question
everybody on
first.
Sarah's point, and then we can come back to your question.
Can they answer that question first before I go her?
The working groups,
Yeah.
that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, so response to Sarah's, and Sarah, looks like you have your hand up. Go ahead. You might have an answer to that. No, okay. Just my
Can I hear from Aaron? I'm sorry, Aaron's.
Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry. Aaron,
I think I have the answer.
There, go
Yeah.
ahead, Aaron.
I think I have the answer to that question, which is when our number of community members on the Bremerton REAC fell, when we lost some folks and those folks weren't replaced, it then became such that our working teams in the numbers that they existed were too large to meet without breaking the quorum rules. For example, most recently, myself, Daryl, and then Sarah and Glenna had joined us as well on that Change the Power team to do some of that work that was behind the big forum that we had with community leaders earlier this year. But once we, were down in numbers, that became the time when it was like, well, can we even meet now? Because there's 4 of us on this working team. So not having enough people on the committee overall dropped, right, our potential for having the working teams, unless we wanted to kick people off of them. We didn't want to do that.
So can you do the working teams in 3s so that we don't break quorum? Because that's what I just don't know why they dropped off our agenda, but
I'm just going to say that's a conversation to have if we think we can be effective, but I'm just answering the question of why did they stop meeting? And that was the answer to that question.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay.
Yeah.
And then so working groups, I got the answer to that. Emails, we already know, I guess we can't email between meetings. And I mean, you can email, here's the deal. You can email 2 people, you can email all city council, but we can't have all of us emailing each other. It's just the OPMA. It's a breach. And that's just city government. That's at the Washington State Legislature. By the way, the Washington State senators and House Representative members, they've exempted themselves from OPMA. They've created a law so they can exempt themselves from that. Anyway, but we can't, and that's a bummer, and it's really frustrating to get work done. That's all.
Great. So response to Sarah, and then I'll call on Anna, or sorry, Daryl, and then Anna. DEI in the budget, absolutely agree that we need a staff person who is working with REAC. I think that is the plan. So we're going to look to see what comes out in the budget. I believe it's going to be a DEI consultant who is going to work with the administration, hopefully you all as well. And I believe the plan is, and I'm waiting for the mayor to actually propose it, so I don't want to speak on his behalf, but is to be a consultant for maybe a year to figure out, is a full-time FTE DEI person being hired onto staff something that should happen in the future? What sort of things should happen with REAC? So I believe that staff issue should be coming out next week when we see the budget hit, Sarah. As far as the communication, again, it's just the emailing as an entire group. We now have 8 people. We had 7 people all along. If it was 3 people emailing, It's completely fine. It doesn't have to be on a website as long as it's just those 3 people. And then you bring it to the larger group when we're having an open meeting. So that's how we get the work done. Exactly how the work was done. I was on a work group, I believe with Aaron and Daryl, and it was the 3 of us, and we emailed and we met off, and that's not a violation whatsoever. So as long as we are less than 50% of what the whole group is, and we don't have a rolling quorum where we bring that information earlier than the next meeting, that work can be done. And you can be on multiple committees as long as you're not sharing that information across, the full quorum. So we just need to silo it to work within that structure. Go ahead, Daryl, and then Anna.
So I'm gonna speak from a different space or two than anybody on here. I'm probably the only person on this call, on this whole group, that still to this day can walk into Bremerton City Hall and be discriminated against. Today, with all the so-called accomplishments that I have, the many opportunities I provide in this city, I still speak from a space of 1,000 cuts of racism a day from people that look like y'all. We done lost our way because y'all forgot y'all work for us. It's almost like we come in here and you guys are lording over the situation, and you're tying us up with the same bureaucracy that created this colonialistic system in the first place. And we're not even looking for ways to move around it. We just looking for excuses. As far as the mayor is concerned, and I just had this conversation with him the other day, he works for us as well. I think it's disrespectful to not ask the Black community or this committee to be involved. You just gonna go out and let your white privilege make you hire a DEI person to come tell us what's special, what the Black people need in this community. That's way offline. Our community told y'all what they wanted in those forums, and you guys are not answering the call. Miss Mockler, you raised your voice at me last time. You did. You insulted me, and you felt as if your white privilege gave you the authority to do that. I suggest you don't do that again. I suggest you act like you're in the presence of a king when you drive up on me from now on, because what you did was out of pocket. And I don't really care anything about telling you something that you might forget. Just respect me like I respect you. And remember that you work for us. Jennifer, I'm not even gonna go there with you. You used to work for me, so you know how I roll, so we don't even have to go there. Quinn, I think you need to fight harder for us. I think you need to be intentionally fighting harder for us. I know your pedigree. I follow you. I've looked you up. I know where you've been. This little small knick-knack ass legal stuff that they wrapping around this committee to choke it out, it definitely has workarounds. I am extremely insulted by y'all. Every time I come on here, I'm offended and I'm insulted as a Black man that pay B&O taxes in this city. A nice amount of B&O taxes. I'm only here, and I'm not on the soapbox, but I'm only here because I don't feel right leaving it to a bunch of white people, and now they owe me and Glenna to decide what we're gonna do about racial equity. That's the only reason I'm here, because I don't trust y'all enough to leave it up to y'all. And you all don't seem to respect us enough. You all don't seem to respect what we say and what we offer and what we advise. The mayor is not doing us a favor by going and taking his white privilege to go hire a DEI person without talking to the Black community or the Racial Equity Advisory Committee. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. Y'all can stop blowing smoke, stop coming in here playing these games, and get to work. You work for us. And I would really like to see more of that. I'm seeing lackadaisical effort. I'm seeing y'all drag this thing around. We don't need a facilitator, especially like Ms. Mockler, because she don't know what she's talking about half the time. And it's extremely offensive to Black people. I've heard that several times. I'm frustrated because this seems to be intentionally to force this committee to die. And the mayor is sitting on the sideline watching it. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, Daryl. Anna.
Daryl, I don't recall raising my voice to you, but you say I did, so I apologize for it. So a bunch of us were activists and advocates before we got on council, and we're used to collaborating. We're used to like going en masse or in a group and like addressing the seats of power. That's what we're used to. So Jennifer was saying this, so I'm just echoing it. It's really a shock, and often an ongoing shock, to realize that the bonds that of the Open Public Meeting Act, that's not just like a it's a trust, really. I'm because the voters of the state of Washington want everything to happen out in the open. That's just the deal. The same way like a haiku has a fixed number of syllables. If you do something else with it, it's not a haiku. These are the constraints we can operate in. Within them, I think we can accomplish many things, but we can't escape them, and seeking over and over to escape them, it just really isn't going to work. To my knowledge and to what we hear from the legal, and I guess ethically, I think it shouldn't work. I think we should be doing everything in the full light of day where everybody can see it. And as Sarah was saying, we all want everything to happen out in the open, but I don't know a structure that would let every working groups, every email be open. I just don't know it. So just saying that your frustration with these constraints, we're all frustrated with these constraints, but there's like, that's city council has its virtues and its flaws, and the flaws, you know, the constraint is that this is the extent of what we can do. So that was really all I had to say. Thank you.
Go ahead, Aaron.
Thanks to Daryl for those comments. And I just, this kind of ties into what you were saying too. Daryl speaking, he didn't talk about how many people are emailing or when you can have meetings. Those aren't the only issues at play. And I think one of the pieces that, you know, it's sort of Sarah had invoked this past year, you know, us not getting as much done as we did previously. I don't think that's only about the working groups, you know, being unable to meet, or, you know, our numbers falling in terms of community members on this committee. Also, in the first year, we spent some time focused on how can we use this committee, build it out, the infrastructure, the systems, the processes in a way that offers a new model, and to take that back to city council and draw on some of the examples from across the country of the way those things are being done differently, to say it doesn't always have to be done the same way. And it's definitely not going to change. Those norms definitely are not going to change unless we bring it up, unless we say we want to do this differently. And we already have some examples of doing that. We have rotated facilitation. We have rotated note taking. We have done our process in meetings differently. So I don't think it's accurate to assume, I think it's disingenuous to assume that we can't put something out there that is a different model, because we've already been doing it in many ways. And nothing changes unless we try to change it, right? And so if we can get back to some of those conversations we had in the early days when we were saying, let's have the way we are doing this work be a model for the other committees, for the city council itself, for the mayor's office. When you were speaking, I was thinking about how much we have not been doing that. We have not had the backing to do that in the last year. And we've been bogged down in what feels like a capitulation to the bureaucracy, rather than saying, hold up, our role here is to recognize how are these systems designed to keep this work from happening and to challenge that. That's what I hear in what Daryl's saying. We need to get back to that work.
Go ahead, Jennifer.
Well, I have a proposal to make as far as the agenda goes. Can we move, move to the next agenda item because we're starting to get into, like some of the structure stuff. And I have a couple follow-up questions to ask because I'm supposed to give the update for that. And I'm not sure how it's, I thought we were taking the feedback, but now there's going to be, we need to regroup. So one follow-up question, and I'm going to wait for an answer, and then I'll do the second follow-up question as we move into the REACT structure. So this is the same group that I started off with when I was assigned to the group at the beginning of the year, plus one. So to me, it seems like, yeah, it's not like we still have vacancies, but we have added another member. Okay, so this committee has grown since this makeup of REACT has existed. We haven't lost any members since I've been on here. So I'm curious why the other members, what happened to the other members? Because I wasn't there. I just looked at meetings on BCAT once in a while, or minutes, or I didn't even get to see the meetings on BCAT. And so I'm just curious why the other members were left, why they left.
Go ahead, Sarah.
I don't remember each story. One person moved away, and I can't remember why. Oh, and one person got very busy with her other career. But this is inevitable. Whenever there's a community group, there's going to be a certain level of
Turnover.
people coming and going, and that is perfectly healthy. What's not healthy is being stuck on how we get new people in.
Yeah, that's fair. And so that's fair. I just know that there's been, a couple other members that have left. I know one of them left, and now she's on the planning commission, right? Former council member. Glenna, did you have some history to add? I see.
Dave Flemister.
Go
Yeah.
ahead, Glenna.
Yeah, I just wanted to add some context to that. I agree with Sarah. So yeah, I think we had 3 other community committee members who left for various reasons, but I think the more troubling aspect, which Sarah pointed out, is that's inevitable. But through this process, and then the questions about how this committee was formed and is organized, we haven't been able to replace those members. And I think now we're in a really sticky situation where, speaking frankly, I don't want to speak for my other community members, but I certainly feel an obligation to stick around out of respect for the work of my fellow community members, but also feel some sense of frustration that we've spent a year kind of parsing over the nitty-gritty of these questions and not making any forward motion. So while our numbers haven't dwindled, I think that's more a testament to our respect for each other rather than the committee itself, if that makes sense.
Go ahead, Laomi.
And not trying to assign blame or anything, but it would have been really beneficial to have the former chair set a process in which a lot of these things would have been proactively mitigated rather than just having the ball dropped onto your guys' lap. But who am I to say? I'm the newest member, right? That's just for me common sense that looking forward, maybe we should also create a plan so that way these gaps don't form and the work can continue to happen rather than it just be all laid upon and encircling just one figurehead.
Excellent. Jennifer, thank you for that, Laomi.
Yeah, thank you. And you might be the newest, but you're picking up on a lot. So appreciate that. Okay, so I don't have a full like a PowerPoint or anything that I can give you tangible for the ordinance. So because we sat in the discussions and then we had kind of a draft that was sent to because we thought with the feedback that y'all wanted the power to be with the mayor he's the one who directs HR. He's the one who directs, you know, as far as training and hiring. He's the one who's the boss of all that. Something that y'all know by now, hopefully, and if you don't, and I apologize for re-explaining, but the city council, we can make laws, but it's up to the mayor's office to enforce them. It's up to community members to put pressure on administration to enforce rules and policy changes and such. And I'm going to give you just like just kind of a for instance. This is, and I'm not trying to make light of the great work that y'all do and that we're doing together. But the fireworks ordinance, for instance, we have a ban on fireworks every day except one day out of the year. And there was a multi-county-wide announcement made that between all the mayors that they weren't going to enforce this fireworks ordinance, that they were going to allow it to happen. Okay, we have a law in place in Bremerton, but who's in charge of enforcing it, right? We aren't. We can make a law, but we can't enforce it. It's up to administration who directs the police department, right? So I'm just giving you that, for instance, to kind of show you the limits of our power. We approve a budget, okay? And you have 3 people on here that regardless of if, you know, like if you like us or you don't like us, we're gonna fight for whatever money we can get to make this committee successful. We have this agreement and we're gonna fight our hardest to do that. So when it comes to the structure, what we had thought from the feedback is that you wanted the power of a commission and to be working with the proposed DEI as the staff person and have a little more power within the government structure. And that did come from feedback that we got from your summit, which I think was successful to a point. Also having given that feedback live to the council. Now, the movement that you want to see, I want to see too, and so does the other council members here. And so this is the larger question. I don't even need to look at the notes for this. But I guess we have limits. We have limits to what we can do with city council. And my concern is that you're asking us for something that we can't provide. And I want to know if I'm not hitting it, if I'm not, you know, where I'm wrong.
Go ahead, Sarah.
Yeah, we're just about out of time for this entire subject. And so I would really appreciate if we could just get to the proposal and not hear the civics lessons. I'm sorry for being so blunt, but I really want to know what you suggest. I mean, I basically set my parameters are, I need to feel like we can get stuff done. If you bring a proposal to me that shows how we can get stuff done, we're good to go as far as I'm concerned.
So working groups can still happen. That's the proposal, right? Working groups can happen, but in groups of 3 so as not to break quorum. I'm not sure where you sit on the DEI issue. Staffing, seems like there's mixed feelings about that. And then the real proposal is that rather than be a city council committee, that we transition into a commission format.
And so, Sarah, I'm not sure if your hand is still up. I'll go to you if it is. But one aspect of that is as newer council members, there's 5 new council members. What we have constantly been kind of getting slapped on the wrist with is separation of powers. And so anytime that we try to veer into, hey, like, this is who we sorry about that, guys. I have beagles. Talking to the mayor about like hiring or directing staff, it's a very clear violation of not only like our city charter, but the state constitution, and we get slapped back. So one thing that is a framework for everybody to consider is this committee was designed to advise council. That's in our vision and purpose. And so you can advise us by saying, like, it's very clear that you all want funding for, you know, REACT and a DEI. There's 3 members on here that are going to go to the budget process and advocate for that during this budget season. That's part of our job. It's not our job to determine who is hired in that DEI position. So if that's input that you want, you all need to make the decision, okay, let's become a commission, which is the proposal that Brett wrote up that we're gonna send to you after this meeting. And then you would be able to advise the mayor in his appointments, in his day-to-day administration, his dealings with the police department, human resources, but then that's not you advising council anymore, because that's a separation of power. So it can't be both, it has to be one or the other. And right now you're in the city council wheelhouse, which is you can advise us what type of budgets to make and laws to pass. But if we want to move more into the day-to-day administration of what the laws are and who enforces those laws, then we need to move you over into a commission. And that's the proposal that Brett wrote up that I'm going to be sending to you. For your proposal, I want to be really clear that, again, there's a tension between moving quickly and being led by community. And my integrity on this committee has always been, I want to be led by the committee. I don't want to impede the committee's work. I want to find these workarounds. And so I want you all, after taking a look at that, to come to us and say, okay, we want to stay with city council, but these are the things that we want to do. And we'll be candid about what the legal parameters are. Or, hey, no, this actually isn't working. We actually really do want to be involved in the day-to-day administration. Let's move it to a commission, and then we'll facilitate that. So that's a decision for you all to make, but it can't be one or the other. It's a separation of power issue. So let's send out that proposal, that ordinance that Brett mocked up. We're not going to do anything with it until we get feedback from you all. And that's kind of the two wheelhouses that we're working from. The last thing I'm going to say before I move on to Aaron and we move on to the next agenda item is, like, I think that it could be really critical that we maybe use our December meeting, if people stay on, as like a longer retreat. You know, it would still have to be an open meeting, but I would love to meet people in person. I would love to, you know, cook food. I would love to like get some visioning and some downloading, because I think there are deeper questions and deeper conversations that need to take place. And this kind of 1 to 2 hour format where we're really trying to get stuff done, it just creates a pressure cooker, and it doesn't allow like authentic relationships or authentic, fully realized answers to kind of come to the head. So that's something that I would like to see. I'm going to put it to you all to think about that, because Daryl, I found your words extremely powerful, and I really appreciate you. For me, I'm going to just speak for me, holding me accountable to what I should be doing in this role. And I appreciate that. With that, go ahead to Aaron.
Thanks. So I hear you have a written drafted proposal that would potentially move us from an advisory committee to a commission. You're going to send us that so we can look at it. My question is whether Brett or any of you have, either through the examples available through conversation with other jurisdictions through GARE, or through your own research, looked at some of the entities that are similar to what we're trying to do in content across the country, where without violating separation of powers, they have created an interactive way for the legislative, the executive, and sometimes the judicial branch as well to receive advice and guidance and coaching from experts in community. That does exist. It doesn't violate the separation of powers. And that's the thing we have been suggesting since the beginning. It's not, I understand the hand slapping. I know what you're talking about. I was the president of my student government, okay, in college. I know what you're talking about, but that's not the issue at play for us. We have brought up, what does it look like, and how can you all, who, not just you three, but the other city council members who have served on this committee, speak in as small a numbers as you need to not violate quorum to the mayor and say, how can we come together and ask and design something that will be able to advise us across the board and get creative with the way we do that so it doesn't violate separation of powers. And it does exist. It exists already in multiple jurisdictions across the country. And by talking with other jurisdictions in GARE, you find out about that and what their path was to it. And also there's research you can do outside of GARE. So that's my question, is whether Brett has been able to do any of that, whether you three have been able to do any of that, or if it's sort of the expectation you all have that that's not going to happen unless we provide you with that research and introduce you to the people who have done that, who can be like a mentor to you in creating that for City of Bremerton.
Yeah, I have a couple responses to that. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Yes, I did meet with the mayor. I went on a little walk and talk with him. That he was late to, but he made it. Like, he was only a couple minutes late, but And that's when he told me about the DEI proposal. And to him, it felt like, or to me, it felt like he was trying to bring everything together. And then, yes, legal talks with the legal is the only department that works for both city council and administration. And so the feedback for, just to follow up on where we're at with a commission versus committee, is that he wants to wait until he has the DEI on staff for this ordinance to go into place. So it's very frustrating. So we have done the work, and maybe there needs to be more work, right? I'm personally not happy with it. And so yeah, I mean, you're the, as community advisors.
Did you tell him you were not happy with it?
Yeah, to be fair, I don't think that I said recently that I wasn't happy with it. I think when I first heard about the DEI, I was very excited. I was like, oh, this is great. Administration is taking a step. And then you know how bureaucracies work. And this was frustrating for me, but also, like, I understand the intent, but there's always consultation, a plan for a consult, a plan for, they plan and plan and plan and plan. And so now it's not so much, what I'm hearing is that it's a plan for a plan, right?
No, it's a white man's plan.
So,
it
so it's a consult to get the DEI in place, right? So that's still not a guarantee that there's going to be a DEI in place. It's a consultation for a DEI, but it is coming. And he does say he wants to have a DEI on staff. That is encouraging. And so,
but he shows up at all these Black events taking pictures.
Who is?
The mayor. Why you need a DEI person to connect you with Black people? We making this big thing out of something that is not. A DEI person is not going to fix the mayor's relationship with the Black community.
That's fair.
No, I'm just saying, we need to really look at it in context. What are we doing here? What are you guys asking for? You think that's going to solve any of these problems? You think them white people going to act any different towards me because we got a DEI person? No, the mayor is out of pocket. And Michael Goodnow should have came and sat down with us. But he's working alongside with the mayor to get this person. And he's one of the ones that started this whole committee. So what are we doing here?
Well, I think the best that we can do in this moment is advocate for more funding to promote the cause of this committee.
Just give you a suggestion how other cities are doing. I'm looking at Minneapolis, a bunch of other cities who are doing all of this work together. And all we doing is sitting around here holding on to this white colonialism, talking about what we can't do. That's all I hear. What we can't do, what we can't do. But everybody else is doing it.
Well, not everybody else, but yes, there are examples. Yeah. And so there's plenty of failures out there, right? So, like, are we the failure now?
An assignment. We gave y'all assignments. Y'all work for us. We gave you assignments for what we wanted. Y'all been on gear for over a year. Nobody probably even looked at it.
Yeah, we have, and the legal team has taken trainings as well. So
Go ahead, Naomi.
I just want to really take a step back because I can somewhat understand where the frustration that's coming from Daryl, in the fact that he has explicitly stated that it frustrates him when we keep talking about the things that we can't do. And it's kind of unvalidating, right? When he's trying to give examples. However, we're saying, oh, but yeah, there have been failures. So I think it's really beneficial for us to actually listen when community members are expressing their feelings and their emotions and their own experiences, because he is right. He is the one that's most affected by any decision or inaction that we or the government does. So I know you have good intentions. I know everyone here has good intentions, but sometimes the intentions do not align with the impact that we're feeling. The other thing that I want to state is that I see this every single time when it comes to race equity work, is that work is done by the committee members, and then all of a sudden an advisor, a D&I manager, or whatever you may call it, gets introduced, and then we're back to square one. I'm one of the youngest people on this board, but I've already seen this happen multiple times. So I can only imagine the people that are my elders, that are my community members, that are the mentors that I look up to, when they're expressing their frustration, and yet we're still going around in circles and still invalidating their experiences and still not being able to listen and understand what he's actually saying. That's frustrating to me. Because then that shows me that my voice, my opinions, my recommendations will not hold water in this forum. Because who am I if you're not even respecting Daryl? What he's saying is stop saying the things that we can't do. I understand that. We all understand that. We know the system inside and out. We don't want you guys to be a barrier for the excuses, barrier for the system. We are asking you to work with us. Don't say the things that we can't do. Don't highlight those things because we already know those things. Work with us, not against us, because we're tired. I'm tired. I'm only 31. Unless the goal is to burn out people who have the passion and the fight and the spirit to actually stand up and advocate for people that don't have a voice, what are we doing? I am ashamed. I'm embarrassed. And I will feel guilty if I go along with this charade when to me, this is only my second meeting, but I keep hearing people say, this is the things that we've been asking for over and over and over and over and over and over again. Why can I see it and why can't you see it? What's the difference? What's the blockage? What's the prejudice? What's the bias? What's preventing you from actually feeling the humanity of actually putting yourself in a vulnerable position and being courageous and standing up to what the moment is asking us to do? This is insulting.
Thank you, Naomi. Aaron, you had your hand up. I wanted to make sure if you had something to say, we got you in.
This is a brief thing. I just want to say that taking the example, and thank you, Naomi, for everything you just said, taking the example of the mayor wants to hire a DEI person or he's thinking about it. Often when this has come up, one of the things we have pointed out is it's sort of just a very small point that's made when it comes up, and maybe you would be able to talk to that person, or maybe this committee could, we don't know yet, we haven't seen the description, blah, blah, blah. So it's disingenuous to say we do want it, or we say we don't want it, because we don't know what it is. We have seen no clear plan that it's actually going to be interactive, where we are giving the kind of advice that we've talked about. And Daryl invoked this, but one of the things we've seen a lot in the last 2 years, and then 5 years, and then 10 years, following various police murders of Black people, et cetera, is some jumping on the bandwagon of certain terminology for certain jobs. And then you look at the job description, and that person either really has no empowerment to make change to infrastructure or systems, or they put somebody in a position who doesn't have personal experience, isn't embedded in community, doesn't have an organizer or an activist approach,
and really is replicating the same power structures that are the problem in the first place. So it's natural that when we hear DEI person, and we're a little bit like, let's be a little suspicious until we see what this job description looks like. And also the way we hear that we could maybe be able to interact with that person is minimal at best and probably wouldn't involve any actual heeding of advice or coaching or anything like that. And we don't even know if it's even possible to have that, the very minimal interaction. So that's why, in my view, we have gone back to what are the things that you all are willing to try to get across those branches of government to say, how can you, as City of Bremerton electeds, do something creative, something that takes a risk, something that says we really want to look at systems design and how racism is embedded in there, how white supremacy is embedded in there, and we want to collaborate across government to do that. There's all kinds of ways collaboration happens across branches of government, but you have to want it.
Yeah, great points from everybody. Just from my perspective, letting you know where I'm at, I think I've tried I obviously need to try harder, but the three things that came out of the community conversation from my perspective and what were put in the slides and kind of the summation was hiring a DEI person, strengthening REAC, and getting GARE membership. So we've gotten the GARE membership. We got you guys in front of City Council to train people up on that. Absolutely need to encourage more participation. We can commit to that. I think there's at least 3 votes here. I don't want to speak for my folks here, but if there isn't a DEI pocket in the budget, we are going to demand one. That's our job, is being able to fund this. I don't want to promise anything that I can't promise. I, as a city council member, am 1/7 of a vote. I can't promise that you have direct input into the hiring of this DEI person, because all I can control is my vote for funding that DEI person. So if you want that, you need to decide to go into that commission. It was a few comments behind, but I wanted to respond to it, Aaron. I read over the comprehensive race equity plan for the King County. I now work for the city of Seattle, again, that has the Race and Social Justice Institute. One of my best friends is the manager for the Race and Social Justice Institute. And I know that structure very well. They are, city of Seattle is, for the last decade, a beacon of how race equity in government and other municipalities have been modeled after. And I am not aware of these structures where there's a committee that can inform the mayor, the city council, and has that power. So what I am asking for is, yes, if you know that, please funnel that. That's what I see my job here is a conduit that has some institutional power that allows to amplify your voices. But again, I have a day job. I have city council meetings. Some of you sat in on our city council meetings. Sometimes they last till 10 o'clock. And then I'm on 2 other committees. So I'm just going to be honest with you all. I'm myself contemplating whether or not I'm even going to be running again, or if I'm going to be taking myself off of committees, in leadership roles next year. And that's a capacity issue for me. And because I don't want to promise you all something that I don't have. So if there is a better way to do things and you want to bring it forward, we need that information from you all, because you all are plugged in. As Daryl has said many times, you are all the subject matter experts, and we want to honor that. So I'm just trying to let you know what my limitations are in my role and help navigate around that, and be as transparent about that as possible. I did think that we were hitting the 3. Again, this committee was created by motion. Now we're trying to actually make it an ordinance. I think that is part of strengthening REAC, and I'm trying to allow the committee to decide what that structure looks like. But now I'm hearing, no, the priority is we want input on the hiring of the DEI person. And that's different than what came out of the community conversation. So I'm fine being held accountable to things, but I just want to make sure that the ball isn't moving in different directions and that we're all on the same page. And I think that a retreat style meeting would really help with that. Go ahead, Aaron.
I'm not clear, Quinn. Who said our priority is we want input on the hiring of the DEI person? Who said that? I don't remember any of us community members saying that.
So what then I'm completely misreading the room. What I'm hearing is anger around the mayor going forward, hiring a DEI person without your input. Am I wrong with that? Go ahead, Daryl.
No, what I said was, you heard that kind of correctly.
Okay.
I think I'm not opposed to the mayor hiring a DEI person. I'm opposed to him not asking anybody in the Black community about it, where he lives.
Got you.
He shows up at all our spaces.
Right.
Well, how dare you? You know, and I do think that we at least should, be part of somebody on this committee should be part of the interview process.
Mhm.
You know, and I think the funding should be held up until we can talk about that. You can't just go and hire somebody that's going to work on DEI inclusion for a person like me for my issues, and you don't talk to me about it. You don't even ask the community. And I just posed this question to him the other day. Who did you ask?
Got you.
He didn't ask nobody. That's wrong. That's wrong. And I think at least should be a conversation. I don't want to hold up his funding. He's not my enemy, but he's inactive on racial equity, intentionally inactive. You all know it, and I know it. He just shows up. I don't want no picture with you. I want you to do something that's gonna help people that look like me.
Got you. Okay, so I was reading in between the lines a little bit correctly, at least from your point of view, Daryl. Go ahead, Jennifer, and then to Aaron.
Yeah, I was gonna say I heard that too from Daryl, that and also Laomi. And we've all seen it where we're in organizations where they just want to check the damn box, right? Like, oh yeah, DEI, I'm so progressive. I mean, I guess my question, okay, so I want to, we're gonna get that draft ordinance out to you at the end of the meeting for you to review, and we can talk about it the next one. But I just want to make sure that I understand some action items that are being proposed and ask for collaboration on one of them. It does sound like it would be of benefit to hold administration accountable for how they're hiring a DEI. Now, I've heard Black names dropped, okay, but that happens all the time too, right? So I'm just wondering, this is an action item follow-up, and maybe we can collaborate on this all together, but should we have a meeting, schedule a meeting with the mayor to get more inquiry? We're gonna have to wait till that budget drops, okay? So that's coming out, is it next week, Quinn? It's the 19th, I believe, is when the
I
budget
believe
drops.
so.
And then take a look at the proposal, and then I think we do need to, I mean, go in there and get some more information about how this is all going to go down. And we are going to have to, Daryl's like, I already know this is going to go down. But we need to go get more information and do some accountability work. And it's, more impactful at times if it comes from community members. So that was an action item collaboration that I'm proposing, that we have scheduled a meeting as REACT, and however many people can go. But we need some community members besides city council members to follow up and try to get more information from the mayor as to how he's going to hire the DEI and who he's been in consult with. I mean, and to be fair, we do have more than the Black community too. Has he reached out to other communities of color too? And and I just want to know more too. So I'd like and I'm hoping that maybe we can tuck this away in the next few minutes and revisit it next meeting after you read the ordinance, because y'all are gonna have some feelings and opinions about it too. But what are your thoughts on a meeting with the mayor?
Let's go to Aaron, then Glenna, then Anna, and then we can close and move on because we're behind. Go ahead.
It's quick about the DEI thing. The point I was making is it sort of jumped to, oh, wait, you don't want input on the DEI person. And what I was saying is the input we were giving before that is if there's going to be an idea to hire, the conversation about what it looks like to create a position, to even begin that conversation, that's the thing we had been asking for those of you who are on city council and part of this committee, to do the reaching out to the mayor, to judicial branch, to say, as you look to in your branch, how can you ask for feedback from, guidance from, input from this REACT that exists in the process of deciding if you think you should do a DEI, what that should look like, how it wouldn't be a rubber stamp, how it could look like other jurisdictions that are our size and have taken more risk to do something that's actually going to look at the infrastructure. And then going back to folks have invoked the poll, right, from the March forum that our Change the Power working team put together, which had multiple community leaders input and community interactive poll within the forum. And I'm just going to lift up some numbers of that. The question was about what people saw as the emerging priorities for City of Bremerton overall, not just City Council, City of Bremerton, and the mayor was there as well. And in those percentages, and the options came from what the community leadership put out. People of color primarily in the community who are leaders offered ideas, and then those ideas, Glenna managed the poll, right, which had a bunch of those ideas, and then people responded to the poll. Number one, empowered and impactful REACT, that had the highest percentage. And then there were three that had equal percentage right behind that. Equitable community engagement methods. So when I hear Daryl say, who did you ask? How did you decide to do a DEI? What would it look like? Where are you going to look for the person, et cetera? There's my question. Were there equitable community engagement methods that went out looking to set that up and design it, right? Another one of the high percentages was funding underserved, underrepresented communities. So how is that worked in, right, to the idea of hiring a DEI person? And then the final one, meaningful representation, right? A lot of times what happens with the DEI folks is they're hiring somebody who looks like me. Here's a white person, they went to a liberal arts college, they studied diversity in some aspect, let's get them into this role. So I think we have this good data from community, and Daryl's questions to me tailor right to that. Those top percentages, 83% of respondents for the first one, the empowered, impactful REACT, and then 53% each for those other three, meaningful representation, equitable community engagement methods, and funding underserved, underrepresented communities. Anytime there's any opportunity to speak to city council or to the mayor or to the judicial branch about what they're doing to think about equity, those four things, if not everything in that poll that people responded to, should be part of the conversation. And I don't know if that conversation has been had at an individual level by any city council members, including Michael Goodnow, who used to serve on this committee with the mayor in the conversations of this DEI role. So if we're to the point where the DEI is going to happen no matter, yeah, of course, I agree with Daryl and others, like we need to try to have a voice at that table, but there's also the systemic place of where is our voice in the conversation about moving toward that to help mitigate some of the checkbox things that we've been talking about.
Glenna?
I was also going to say in response to Jennifer's question, and in response to like a lot of Daryl's apt criticism, like I think it would make a lot of sense if the mayor were to come to the next meeting where we kind of decide what this committee looks like, not because like he has a say in what the committee looks like, but if we intend to kind of shift to, if the plan is, and we agree to the plan that we shift to more a commission that works with the mayor, I want to know that he has a vested interest in working with us and consulting with us, as well as this potential new position. Like, I think if we've learned anything from the past 2 years, it's that we should probably have a plan for like these options moving forward rather than figuring it out once it happens.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Thanks. I'll be really brief. One of the powers vested in council by the charter is that we have the power to define the functions, power, and duties of the city's officers and employees, and to fix the compensation and working conditions of them. So one possible proposal that you guys might want to consider is, what is a job description and required experience for an effective DEI who is a member of a community of color? Because I agree with, I think, Aaron, yeah, it's like having another white person telling Black people what they feel, telling, Filipino and Native American and Hispanic and everybody. I'm missing a couple, sorry. But white people telling non-white people how they feel, I think that works poorly. As you know, I think, you guys know I think this. Sorry, I'm in pain, so everything's like a little stupid. So this might be something you want to consider. And if there's any research that we have, this would be, I know persuade is kind of a dirty word, but this would be a way we could persuade the mayor that this job description would be of use to hire someone who is actually of use, not someone who simply checked a box. So that's the first thing. And the second and last thing is, I am the next agenda item. And if we don't get to me, I am the last page on tonight's agenda packet. Thank you.
Quick response to that, and I'll go to Sarah. Just my civil rights attorney light started going off. In no way can we ever say that there's a preference for a certain race in any sort of hiring decision. That's just recipe for lawsuit. Just throwing that out there. Go ahead, Sarah.
I understand that.
I like the idea of making it an official position of this body that we would like to be in dialogue over the question of who would be the appropriate kind of candidate, what the job description is, and so forth. And rather than that be individuals on this committee saying that, I'd like to suggest that we say that in a unified way, so that there's real clarity on the part of the mayor and the city council that this is something that is a priority of our whole REAC.
Excellent. And think about that as you're looking at the ordinance, because the way we do that is we kind of move to a thing where we're advising the administration rather than advising city council, if that's really what you want. So think about that. Go ahead, Sarah.
I'm sorry.
Sorry if I interrupt.
If we wait for another meeting where we have further conversation before we take any position on this, the hiring may be pretty far along in the process.
No, it won't be. I'm sorry to interrupt. I apologize. I'm trying to unlearn that, but there's no hiring's gonna happen.
Because
this
council
year.
hasn't, we haven't given the mayor any money for that pocket yet. So it's
Right.
still in the early stages, but I absolutely, yeah, I hear what you're saying. And I think the way to do it kind of informally is, yeah, having those talks with the mayor, and I'll commit to that publicly, of setting up a meeting with him, letting him know that, like, as a voting member of the budget, I would like REAC to be in consultation with him if we're actually giving him the money for doing that.
What's the problem with just scheduling a meeting with REAC and whoever can attend? I mean, not just you, but like other members, right? I mean, y'all want that, right? Am I wrong in making that assumption that you want to have the voice? I mean, it's that you don't want us to just be the only ones in there, right? Okay. So
I'd like Daryl's point of view on this one, because I feel like he's the most has the most experience on this intersection here.
I also think that we should have a conversation with President Goodnow, because I feel like I was blindsided by him, the way he started and helped incubate this. And then he just dropped it and left you guys. And it, like someone said earlier, Naomi, I think there's been no connection to it. And he's just sitting over there knowing that we got these things, these hot button issues. He was in the middle of us helping build this. So he should be part of the discussion too, especially if he's working with the mayor.
Excellent. So what I'm hearing is we want a full REAC meeting with the mayor, invite both the mayor and Michael, and kind of discuss this as we're going through the budget process. Okay. All right, Sarah, you have your hand up. I don't know if it was, okay, great. Moving on to the next item, because I want to make sure we're being respectful as much as we can be of everybody's time. Thanks, folks. Go ahead, Anna.
Thanks. So if you guys will look at the last page in your packet, you will see some suggestions for concrete action, many of which I've proposed already during this. But I tell you what, since there seems to be quite a lot of majority consensus and agreement with the fact that I don't know what I'm talking about, I'm going to go consider that and let you guys look at this and consider if there's any merit to it. So that's my presentation for tonight.
Go ahead, Aaron.
I just had one quick thing to say because your words included some ideas for specific goals. I'd just rather defer that conversation to when we do get to have a retreat style meeting so we can reflect on what we've accomplished, where we want to go forward and generate collective goals.
Great. Thanks for putting these together, Anna, and I know you sent them to me earlier. It's just trying to figure out the right time and actually generating our goals. It's been an interesting time kind of building the plane as we fly it. So thanks for that. All right, let's move on. Got you. It is public comment. Let me make sure if we have participants in the audience. It looks like we have, we at least have a couple members. Welcome attendees. If either of you would like to make public comment, we have about 5 minutes for public comment. There's 2 of you, so I'm gonna do about 2.5 minutes per person. If either of you would like to talk, just raise your hand and I'll promote you. Great. Teresa. All right, Teresa, you should be allowed to talk.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I've spoken before, so I mean, there's nothing new under the sun here. But I don't see Laomi's face on the screen, but I just there's not a word that came out of her mouth that I either haven't said before or felt before or felt during the last meeting, which was an absolute, excuse my language, an absolute shit show. And this meeting that I don't know anymore. I debated whether I was even going to tune into this meeting because the last 2 or 3 had been such a mess. I figure I'm wasting my time. It's late in the evening, I could be drinking tea and put my feet up. But I gave this one more chance to see just what is going to happen here. And honestly, the only reason why I've stuck around to the end of this meeting and why I will probably tune into the next meeting is because of Glenna, Aaron, Daryl, Sarah, and Laomi. I'm here because of you guys. I'm here because of you. And I'm the person that Sarah was referring to who lives 20 yards on the other side of the city limits. So I can't be a part of the committee, but I'm a part of this community. My address is Bremerton 98310, despite the fact I live in the county. And what you guys do impacts me directly. And I gotta say, Jennifer, when you were talking about ending public comment, that insulted me no end. No end. Because I tend to talk during these meetings because I have things to say, things that are on my mind. And when you talk about ending public comment, that means you don't want to hear from me. And if you don't want to hear from me, then what the hell am I hanging around here for, listening to these meetings when I got other things I could be doing? You need to think about what you say and what you do and what you plan, because you don't know who it impacts or how it impacts people. And when you don't put on, add the members you're supposed to add, well, how long has it been since we had a full complement of community members? It's been over a year. And the reason why everything stopped is because Leslie left. That's why everything stopped. Leslie left. Faye left. Saley left. You know, and we've had, and I still don't know why city council members have changed back and forth. I don't know why. There's no consistency in terms of city council, and there's no push to get the community back on this committee. If you were at a full complement, you'd have what, 10 people, 11 people? And this whole business about a quorum, you could have 4 people who get together because you have 11 people on committee. So I mean, all this is just stupid. It's just stupid. And I understand it because I've seen it a million times. I've been on these committees all my entire adult life. And the same thing happens again and again and again. The committee starts getting stuff done, and all of a sudden, some bureaucratic BS starts to get in the way. Oh no, I can't do that, can't do that, can't do that, can't do that. And then all of a sudden, everything just goes haywire. And that's exactly what happened here. The committee was working fine. The committee was working fine up until somehow, like I say, when Leslie left, and I wrote the city council an email right after Leslie left. You guys should remember what I said. That when Leslie left, that REACT became a shadow of its former self. And it's only gotten worse since then. So, and now all this stuff about the structure and blah, 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 all that should have been decided long before you guys you guys raised the flag and had this committee start. So, like I say, I'm here because of the community members that are on this committee, and I thank heavens for the 5 of you and the fact that you're able to hang in there and put up with all this garbage while you're trying to get this work done. I mean, I sit here, I feel like the top of my head is going to blow off half the time. But I'm hanging on by a thread and by my fingernails because this work is so important. There's so much garbage happening in this community that people don't get to talk about, don't get to hear about. This is the committee that's supposed to help us take care of this shit. But if the committee can't get itself together, how are you going to help us? How are you going to help us? So again, Glenna, Aaron, Daryl, Sarah, and Naomi, I thank you guys so much. But it's too frustrating. It's too frustrating. And you don't understand. Some of you do understand. Many of you don't understand what it feels like to be who we are. In this town where this is not like living in Alabama, but there's still crap that happens here that shouldn't happen. And somebody has to help us. Somebody has to help us. That's what you're supposed to do. But you can't do it when you get caught up in all this garbage. It has nothing to do with the work. Nothing to do with the work. And one more thing before I go off with this whole thing about the DEI. Oh my God. This is going to be such a critical hire, assuming it does actually happen. And we went through this at Olympic College. I retired from Olympic College about 2.5 years ago. We went through a whole hiring process it was a disaster. And the person that they hired was awful. Awful. She was an African-American woman and she was awful. So again, it's not about what skin tone that person brings to that position. It's about their mindset and their headset and what they think and believe. The person at OC was a puppet of the president, and it was awful. If the person for Bremerton is a puppet of the mayor, it's going to be awful. And I'll leave you with one thing that my family says. We say, skin folk ain't necessarily kin folk. So just because it's a person of color doesn't mean it's the right person either. You have to look for the right person. It's better if it's a person of color because they kind of get it all along, but that's not necessarily the be all and end all. So whatever REACT can get in terms of being part of that conversation, please do it. Because I gotta tell you, the mayor can't do it by himself. Well, he could, but he's gonna screw it up. And we can't screw this up. We can't screw it up. It's too important. It means too much to too many people. All right, I'm gonna take my rant and go home now.
Teresa, thank you again for showing up again and again. I really wish you were inside Bremerton city limits because you would be an amazing member of the committee, but we really appreciate you showing up in your words. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just
Any-
also want to echo and say thank you so much for showing up and yeah, for sharing all that. Thank you so much.
Sorry. Any other member of the public who wishes to make a comment? Okay. Thanks a lot, Teresa. Have a good night, and hope to see you next time. Okay, moving on to the next action items. We're wrapping up budget workshops and council meeting schedule. Council staff, I believe Christine, I'm not seeing Christine on here. Oh, yeah, Christine, do you want to talk about the budget workshops?
Hi, Chair. Yeah, I just wanted to follow up from the last meeting that we still are on for the budget workshops on Monday, October 24th, Tuesday, October 25th, and Thursday, October 27th. But we'll be starting at 3 p.m. and we'll be having the meetings in the first floor meeting chambers. And so we are moving forward with those dates and times, and there'll be an official meeting notice. I just want to let you know that's where we're at. We had to get through logistics of what in-person meetings look like now, hybrid meetings and things like that. And it took a while to get there. So thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for that. And I'm assuming like other meetings, that's open to the public, so REAC members can attend if they would wish.
Yes. And you'll be receiving the notice pretty soon. We just had to confirm that we had the room. And I lost my train of thought. My flu shot's giving me grief. Sorry.
You're fine. Thank you. And thank you for just taking amazing notes and being our support person through all of this. We really appreciate it.
Yeah. I wanted to follow up that the meetings are open to the public. The workshops will not have opportunity for public comment. Like there won't be any podiums or anything. But if you would like to comment on the process, the proposed budget, anything that'll be posted online, council will accept emails, letters that can be included in the record for when it comes back for, I believe, 2 public hearings. So I wanted to share that too.
Excellent. Thank you. Go ahead, Aaron.
Hey, thanks, Christine, as always. So I'm going to put out just, via my personal network, the opportunities, because you emailed out, the workshops like you just talked about. I'll make sure I get the correct 3 o'clock start time. You say, can send in letters or comments. So do people send that to the address you check, the city council one? And then is there any particular subject line they should use that will highlight to you that they want to get it forwarded to that?
If citizens are speaking to the proposed budget or a specific part of the budget, any of those will go to the council. And I believe, I could be mistaken, that based on that content, it would also go to the mayor and finance staff. It would include, and then also if that comment relates to a certain department or a certain fund, we would include those directors and management staff also. Yeah, and then that would roll over for the comments wherever they land into the hearings.
Okay.
They'll come back as ordinances with all the detail attached.
Okay. And if they send it to you, you're going to be the one to triage that and get it to all the right people. They can just send it to the address you check. Is that right?
Yeah, the city council email address. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. Appreciate it. Glenna caught that I totally skipped an agenda item. Oh, Sarah, I'm sorry. I was missing your hand. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, to have an effective input into the budget process, we would need, as a REAC, to identify the items that have specific racial justice implications, where there are decision points where we could ask for some considerations. And we have not had that conversation, and I don't know how to identify that. I don't believe showing up for umpteen hours of budget hearings is going to provide that. So I don't know what we can do about this at this late date, although I do remember Aaron raising this question months ago, that this would be an important pivot point. If our main purpose is to advise council and their main authority is budgetary, then this is the main opportunity over the course of a year for REAC to actually have an impact on city policy, which it seems like we are completely missing. So I don't know what to do about that at this point, but I do want to just put that on the record that I'm disappointed that we don't have a channel by which to have that kind of thing.
Go ahead, Christine.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to follow up, Sarah, that traditionally the first budget workshop addresses the general fund and special revenue. And so my best guess is that's where this would fall into that conversation. And so if people aren't watching in, there would be access to that presentation. It'd be like a PowerPoint, and then you could scroll through to the piece that people want to get to. So that might help narrow down the time people are spending looking at these pieces.
Great. Thank you. Daryl?
Yeah, my question is a little different. I'm gonna turn a different chord. I like to ask the council members, does the city of Bremerton still have a surplus of any unused COVID funds? And if so, how much is it?
Are you thinking of ARPA funds? Is that the
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
is it the ARPA funds that are the COVID funds? I can't remember the.
I
Oh,
think your mic is covered.
Oh, okay.
sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. Is it the ARPA funds that are the COVID funds that you're referring to, or I'm trying to think of the funding so I can give you a
I'm not
correct answer.
really sure, but
Okay.
you know, a lot of municipalities are trying to figure out conventional ways to spend that excess COVID money. And I thought that maybe it could be an opportunity for us to look for ways to conventionally do react work within that. You know, so I really would like to know that before we get to the point they start making decisions on what they're gonna do with that money, and not even talk to nobody about it.
We will look into it unless one of my fellow council members knows that off the top of their head. If
I should ask Christine, she knows everything.
Christine, you know that.
I think you stumped me, Daryl, but that is a very good question.
We'll look into that. And I think it is the ARPA. And if it is the ARPA, I do think that we have some unspended funds. I know that we were directing some to affordable housing, but I do believe we haven't spent it all, if my recollection is correct. But we'll get back to you on that one. Okay. Sorry, Glenna let me know that we totally blew over appointments. I'm so sorry. I guess the question that I have for folks whose terms are up, which is Sarah and Aaron and Laomi, is would you like to say at least through the end of the year as we kind of look forward to more conversations with the mayor around DEI hiring and a retreat for us?
So to be honest, for me, it's more so I feel like accountability is a big piece upon this, and it is needed. So I'm more than happy to remain until the end of the year until we have more structure and more understanding and clarification on what our specific role and function is.
Great. Thank you, Laomi. I appreciate that. Aaron or Sarah?
I'm willing to extend through the end of 2022.
I'm willing as well, especially after hearing what Teresa spoke to.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, so these three members will be extended till the end of the year. Hopefully at the end of the year, we'll kind of have a better understanding of recruitment and term limits and all that things that we'll kind of suss out during our retreat. So thank you very much for doing it ad hoc. Go ahead, Aaron.
This just goes back to the budget workshop piece. I'm going to do this conversational style. I'm not making a motion yet, but I'm curious if there's any other And in particular, I will ask like the community members who are part of this crew, because I know council members will already be there. If there are any others who are available at 3 o'clock on Monday, the 24th, to attend the budget workshop, because I'm wondering if some of us go and then maybe we have like a debrief, like we have a small number of us, 3, right, that go and have a debrief. What do we see as the targeted areas that it would be important to bring a stronger race equity analysis to how the money's being talked about? If we did something like that, I guess it would have to be 3 of us, right? So we don't have a quorum issue. Go attend, have a debrief meeting, and come up with just a brief little points we want to bring back to the committee as the Bremerton REAC as a whole. Would people be up for having a second Bremerton REAC meeting this month? And I'm thinking in my mind here, a Thursday at 6, like usual, possibly the 27th, where the only purpose of the meeting is to hear that debrief, right? These 3 community members went, we heard the budget workshop. Here's areas we think in what's happening with the budget that need a stronger race equity analysis, so that then the council members on this committee take that feedback from this committee back into that budget workshop process. And so that maybe, like Sarah's bringing up, we can actually get some input into that, because this is going to define the whole next year, right, for the council.
So we have budget workshop like 4 days that week.
Right.
So we have it 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th.
I'm targeting the Monday because Christine just told us that would probably be a good one to bring it up. And I'm trying to get within the calendar of when you're doing it.
So my point is that we can't have another REAC meeting on that Thursday because we're going to be in budget workshops.
Is the budget workshop supposed to last till midnight? How long will it last? It starts at 3:30. It starts at 3 o'clock.
It starts at 3 o'clock and I have it slated till 8 o'clock. Christine might be able to speak to it. I mean, and Christine's taking notes, and I know this is hard for you to do, Christine. I apologize. Because she's our official minute taker. But my understanding is, I mean, we don't really know how long it's going to last. It's going to last till it's going to last. We're going to be in the debate process by then, right?
Yeah, that is the final stage, and we have had them go like marathons.
Yeah.
We have had them, it really depends, what kind of collaboration happens between the mayor and the council. There might be some give and take. There might be some really hot issues where people are.
It doesn't have to be a Thursday, but my idea here is 3 of us go, we debrief it, we come up with some points to bring back to this whole committee. So this whole committee can then talk about that, boom, before the 2nd, right? Which is council meeting with public hearing. Before the 2nd, we can have a brief meeting, our Bremerton REAC. Maybe we slate just like an hour, because that's all we're doing is talking about those things, so that our 3 council members from this committee are empowered by our whole committee to take our collective analysis back into their council's November 2nd meeting. I don't really care when the meeting happens. I said,
Do you want to have a special meeting? Do you want to do it on
well, first,
Tuesday
I
the
just want to
1st?
hear, I'd like to hear from the committee members who are from the community. Do you like this idea or not? I'm not making a proposal yet. I just want it conversationally. Do you like it or not?
Go ahead, Sarah, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I love the idea of having the special meeting. I can't attend the budget meeting myself, but I would be happy to come to a special meeting and hear the report out.
Great. Thumbs up from Daryl. Naomi. Awesome. Go ahead, Christine.
Aaron, if 3 of you meet, that's just a work group. You could meet and not have to have an official meeting.
I think the concept is that he wants to have them debrief and then us have a special meeting.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And so I was just going to throw out there, I don't know about other folks, but what about the Tuesday before?
What date is that?
First,
Sorry?
it's the November 1st. And it'll have to be by Zoom. Everybody's looking at their calendars, sort of, huh?
I could meet on Tuesday the 1st.
It's normally my
Daryl could.
February
Leanne
meeting.
could.
I'll skip that. What time works for y'all?
Could we go around your meeting, Jennifer, so you could do both?
It's okay. What, is that a surge meeting night? It's not,
No.
it used to conflict with my other meeting I had there at the same place. It's okay. I mean, my meeting's normally 6 to 7, but I don't, I have 2 of those same meetings. I go to, these are my recovery meetings. I'm gonna be vulnerable and just say it. So I go multiple times a week. I can skip that one.
So 6 o'clock on November 1st, does that work for most people? Yeah, cool. Okay.
That's cool.
I really
So
like
is
that
there
idea.
anybody else who can go with me on Monday, the 24th? Daryl, you can? Naomi can? Glenna, can it be a library worker field trip for you or something?
I will try my hardest. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, in my professional capacity. Halloween is very, very big for the teens. And so that
Yeah.
week I'm running 2 late night lock-ins. So I can definitely
your
try,
heart.
but I can't fully commit.
You're gonna be sleepy?
I'm probably gonna be preparing to like run a tarot card reading and to do pumpkin paintings. If you know of anybody who wants to pretend to be a psychic for my teens on Saturday at the Bay Street Boo Bash, give me a call.
Sounds amazing.
I actually do tarot readings.
Oh, snap. See how that
Naomi, great. Shoot me an
Aaron.
email.
Aaron,
Sorry.
I think you and Naomi, I would be okay with you and Naomi coming up with some topics. I'm sure the council members have seen some things based upon conversations and, you know, I think we'd be cool.
Okay, I'm gonna make an actual proposal. Christina, are you ready for notes?
she's always
Okay.
ready. She's
My motion is this, that Bremerton REAC will send Aaron and Naomi to the Monday, October 24th, 3 p.m. budget workshop to listen to the conversation and to pinpoint items that need a strong race equity analysis. And Naomi and Aaron will get together after that, debrief it, and come to a Tuesday, November 1st, 6 p.m. Bremerton REAC meeting, just a brief meeting, and share those points back to the full REAC so that we can leave that November 1st meeting with recommendations for City Council as how to up their game with race equity analysis for their 2023 budget.
Christine had her hand up for a while and then Sarah, sorry, go ahead.
So moved. Or is
Thanks,
this a
Sarah.
second?
Sorry.
second. Oh,
And Christine, sorry, I wanted to make sure you had a chance.
There, I'll move forward with requesting Zoom codes and work with you. I guess we'll work out the agenda, whatever needs to be on there.
Thank you.
it's not like
Naomi,
every
I'll
other
put my-
department wasn't consulted before. Budgets, right? Every other department has been consulted about budgets, by the way. Public Works, Parks, everybody, right? Okay, sorry.
Naomi, I'm gonna give you my number so we can coordinate, okay? Thanks.
Aaron, you can actually email me with that if you feel more comfortable doing that.
Okay, excellent. Great. I think that's a really exciting thing that'll happen. Thank you for that, Aaron. Any other things before we move on to our last agenda item, which is just update on GARE membership for
Well,
community
you know,
members?
I apologize. I want to hear the update on, we can talk about that, but I guess I thought there would be council member reports. I have a small report I'd like to make, but I can do that at the end. I'll be brief.
Well, the GARE is your action item anyway, so you've got the floor.
Action item for that. So there's been a turnover in IT. They've had a huge turnover. So we are not guaranteed to have any email addresses this year. We're going to work to make sure that with the 3 of us have committed to make sure that we're going to fight for the GARE membership, GARE conference, the email addresses, as well. There's licenses and then a renewal fee of some sort, and then additional funding for things like tabling. And so we have not been able to get a good workaround yet because of the turnover. And also they're concerned about protocol, like y'all need to come in and sign some kind of agreement for technology use. And so we hope to have an update for you in November, but at this point, because we're in the middle of budget discussions, we don't have a good avenue yet for those email addresses, and I apologize for not having that for you.
But we're going to be asking during budget to make sure we have that funding, which was the whole
Yes.
for these. It's hard because the budget comes out in November the year before we actually need the money, right? So, all right, go ahead. Sorry, Daryl, you asked, can you attend the conference? I'm not sure.
The
Isn't there
GARE
a good-
conference? Yeah, we, how many people do you want us to try to allocate that budget for? We can figure.
Well, I know I'd like to go.
Mhm.
It's in person, right?
Last year's was Portland, and then there was virtual options, but they put a cap on virtual options. It sold out really quickly. Aaron, I think you had like the most information. Do you know where the next GARE conference is going to be?
I haven't seen it yet. Have you, Glenna?
I want to go. It's in Dubai.
He already knows it's in Dubai. Damn it. Oh, I messed up on saying that.
Still need to
We're
talk
all
about
going
that.
to Dubai. I don't even have a passport.
I
Your
think
Okay.
pictures are
also-
insane, Daryl. I'm so jealous.
If people want to put out there, hey, how many we think should go and who should go. First of all, Naomi and I can put that in our points, right? Because we're gonna go to the budget
Yes.
workshop, but also like become on the second
To
to our
Dubai.
meeting, having thought about who all should go and how many, because in my mind, it's not, all the city council members should be it, the mayor too.
Go ahead, Sarah.
I'm sorry, that's just what I was going to say too, is I think it's really important that members of the city council, the mayor and senior staff consider going.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed. I mean, it's great that you all get the training, right? To like hone your skills, but like probably we need people that need it more, right? Hopefully all of us can go. All right. And the last item, new business to be determined. Go ahead, Jennifer. You said you had a council report.
Okay, I got an issue that's probably on some folks' radar, but I hope to have an update on it next time I come. Do you remember that case that happened with that kiddo who had his home broken into, and he had been reporting for years about the racism, the neighbor with the swastika brandishing weapons at him, like calling him names, and he has witnesses and so on. I was able to track him down. He's a young person. Yes, he's actually used to be one of my students, and I used to know his mama, went to school with his mama. So I tracked him down and I had a conversation with him. And he shared a lot about the process of what he went through. First of all, he's light-skinned. And when he was trying to report at one point in time to officers that he felt like he had to prove his ethnicity to them, he had to take off his hat and show his hair. He feels like there wasn't any investigation done. I'm also on the public safety committee, and I might get flack for bringing it up the way I am, but that's okay. Wouldn't be the first time. But he felt really, he'd been reporting for years. And so I had a chance to just bring it up for the first time with Chief Wolf, who had no idea what case I was talking about. So he found it after searching the names, not finding it. Then he found it. He said he's going to look into it. What he said is he's got the reports, but that he put it on the prosecutor, that there was a prosecutor that chose not to, and then freedom of speech and so on. But I am gonna follow up a little bit more on it because I want to know what happened. I want to know where the line between freedom of speech and threats of assault actually are. And this kiddo, I mean, he's 23. He ended up waking up to find this racist neighbor, a little crazy in his house. And he took him down, didn't even harm him too much. He took him down, held him till he called it a citizen's arrest. I don't know if we have that in our state, but he did it. But he had to take matters into his own hands, and after years of complaining to the police department about it, it culminated in him having this guy break in. So I hope to have another update on that. But really, I think that I just wanted to put it back on your radar as something we might see in the future or be curious about. That's all. Thanks.
And thanks for bringing that up, Jennifer. And just as you're the chair of the Public Safety Committee, it might be great to put that on the agenda for the police and legal aspect, so we can bring it up then. And
They've been pretty busy. They haven't come the past couple meetings.
I noticed. All right. With that, is there anything for good of the order? Go ahead, Aaron.
I just had that other new business thing, Quinn, about Bainbridge Island. So Bainbridge Island React, Naomi, I don't remember if you've heard about this before or not, but we've had a couple of times, or just sort of like a casual meet with the Bainbridge Island React. What is each React like? What have your challenges been? All that, sort of just like a collegial thing. And they, the last time we were going to do it, it didn't happen because their rules meant that they had to go from Zoom to in person again. And now they're into a hybrid. So they're inviting us. Do we want to do another joint hangout, compare notes, talk about how it's going thing on Thursday, November 17th? They will be in person in their chambers on Bainbridge Island, and we would be invited to either come in person or come via Zoom. And we don't all have to do the same thing. If some of us want a person, that's some in Zoom, that's fine. But I just want to get back to them with, does our React want to join them, or some members of our React, however many, want to join them on that date, just like we have in the past. So that's my question.
Okay, I know that I'm not available that day, but anybody else that is available, maybe just like a thumbs up to, I see Daryl's interested and Abel, Glenna. Great. I mean, is it okay if it's, we start with 3, Aaron, and let them know that that's where we're starting with?
Yeah, I don't think they have a certain number required for us. It's probably just like on Christine's end, knowing if it needs to be posted as an official meeting of ours as well. So what I can do, if we at least have some, is I'll tell them, yes, I don't know how many. I'll copy the city council email address and our community member Bremerton React email address is on that, so y'all see it. And then maybe everybody can just, reply to that so that Christine can see for sure who's going. Does that sound okay, Christine?
Yeah, Christine, you have your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Aaron. Hey, could you repeat the date of that meeting again?
Yeah,
The proposed date.
It's Thursday, November 17th, 6 p.m.
It's always safe if we know, and if Bainbridge React can send the Zoom codes, we can put that out, and then there may be people in the community that would be interested in attending.
Yeah, I'll say that in the email and I'll include you on that. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thanks for that. Any other new business or good of the order? Otherwise, I'd love to, yeah, go ahead, Christine.
Sorry, just because when Jennifer mentioned earlier about IT, being down a few people, there's a really tight turnaround for getting all information we need for meetings. So I'm just seeing you and the rest of the committee, if you think you're still going to need to meet November 10th, will that be a separate agenda potentially than the debrief? Because I can move on getting the Zoom codes for that meeting as well.
It'll be separate, right? Is that the consensus of everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we get Christine
Okay.
on this committee?
Hmm?
Can we get Christine on this committee? Good Lord.
She is.
Yes,
Sort of.
is.
She is.
We've
She's our
been
staff
very-
person.
It's been so
God,
many
we need to get her
details.
to work.
Thank you.
Yeah, Christine is the one that does
You don't even
all
know.
of the
Yeah.
work for this committee.
She was working over the weekend for this, y'all. Yeah.
Sorry, my beagles are going nuts. Sorry, folks, that's so annoying. Yeah, Christine, major love for all the work that you do. Nothing would be getting done if it wasn't for Christine, so thank you. Anything else before we adjourn? Sorry, my dogs are going nuts.
I would like to, here's the deal. I just really quick, we're going to talk about establishing roles, but Christine really is our note taker. And I mean, I understand that I always take notes, but she's our official minute keeper. And I'm just curious if we need to have a note taker, if we have somebody who's our official minute keeper. That's a question I wanted to put out there. I'm sorry, that was new business and y'all are done. But that was a question I had.
Go ahead, Aaron.
I'm just, maybe this is a good thing when we do have a retreat to discuss, but part of the reason we set it up that way originally was we were creating a different sort of way of doing a committee and saying, how do people share the stewardship roles? How do you rotate
Okay,
through? How
that's
do you
good.
show that people take notes in different ways? And that's cool. They don't always have to be the same way. So there's a lot of reasons we did that. And I love your notes, Christine, but like there is intention behind creating structure that reflects a commitment to race equity. And so if we are going to talk about those things in like an ongoing way, I think we should talk about it at the retreat.
Okay, I love it.
Great.
Thank you. Sorry for the new business.
Christine, you had your hand up, sorry. All right, thank you, everyone, especially our community members. Special thank you to Teresa again. Thank you for staying on at least till the end of the year, to Laomi and Daryl and Sarah and Glenna and Aaron. I just really appreciate you all, and thank you for holding us accountable. It's I really appreciated all your words tonight, so thank you for that. I look forward to hopefully seeing you all in person, seeing some of you at the budgets, and seeing you all hopefully at the special meeting, so we can do some race equity analysis on some things that really matter. So I appreciate you all. Have a really great night, okay?
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Thanks, Quinn. Good night.
Night.